You will not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. You will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials because the revolution will not be televised.
It may be this time. They gathered on the streets of Ferguson, Missouri Monday night to hear the decision of the Michael Brown grand jury. Most came there to let their feelings be known, others to riot and leave behind as much damage as possible. In the end, what happened in Ferguson will burn in the memory of America for a very long time to come. Let's welcome to MidPoint a rap and hip-hop artist from the north side of St. Louis, Missouri. He was there Monday night and joins us now to discuss what he saw. His rapper handle is T-Dubb-O. May I call you T?
Yes, that's fine.
All right, T, tell us why you went there on Monday night.
I went out there to await the information just like everybody else. I feel like I knew what the decision was going to be, but like everybody else, I wanted to be there and hear it live. I also went just to be a part of the movement, just to be a part of the fight and try to keep people as peaceful as possible and do some crowd control, be out there for the family, just be out there for the people.
So you were there to try and keep the peace and keep people from rioting, correct?
Correct.
Did you stay for any of the riots, the discourse that happened afterwards?
I seen it all, and it's unfortunate, but at the same time, I'm not really too concerned about the loss of property right now, because at the end of the day, there was a body laid in the middle of the street for 4.5 hours, and you can't bring him back to life. So a building can be rebuilt, goods and things like that can be rebought.
What about the fact that, well, wait a minute, let me just ask you this. What about the fact, though, that those were people's businesses? They had no reason to be involved. They probably did not have any sort of a problem or an issue with Mike Brown or anybody else. Why burn down and why loot somebody's businesses if they didn't have a point in it?
They did. And again, it's unfortunate for them. I apologize they lost their business, but at the end of the day, they have insurance. Those businesses can be rebuilt.
Well, you don't know they all have insurance. To be fair, you don't know if they all have insurance. You're assuming, correct?
You can't bring a life back at the end of the day.
Understood that. Were you part of the looting last night?
Not at all.
Okay, because there was a thinking process and maybe some of the people involved actually were there to keep peace but did take part in the breaking in of stores. Did you try to stop anybody from doing it?
No. Well, I'm not going to, because first and foremost, that's the reason that the world is paying attention. Before a building was burnt down, a piece of inanimate object, before a building was set fire to, the world could care less that a young unarmed black man was killed in the middle of the street. Somebody's child was murdered by a police officer.
What about the grand jury then, T-Dubb-O? So I guess you don't agree with the grand jury.
As soon as a building was set fire, the national media, everybody wants to pay attention.
You don't agree with the grand jury then? T-Dubb-O, let me ask you this. I only have about a minute left. You don't agree with the grand jury findings then?
Not at all. Why would I? Why would I? They told multiple stories. Their stories aren't consistent. How can Darren Wilson sustain the little bit of damage that he's shown on the pictures to the left side of his face if on the right side of his face, if him and Mike Brown got into an altercation on the driver's side?
What about the fact that what about the fact that much of the testimony came from people in the community themselves, African Americans, who basically then corroborated a lot of the testimony?
What about the fact that two white construction workers who seen Mike Brown on his knees with his hands up weren't allowed to testify?
But it is a fact right now that they have proven through the other testimony that never happened.
They haven't proved anything.
Sure they have. They proved it through evidence. They proved it through testimony.
The autopsy proved that he was shot with his hands up in the air.
That is not what the autopsy proves.
And the bullet that went into his eye came in at a downward angle.
That is not what the autopsy proves. The autopsy does not prove that his hands were up.
Anyway, at the end of the day, it's unjust. It was an unarmed male shot in the middle of the street, a child, 7 times.
Okay. T-Dubb, unfortunately, we are all out of time here because we're on the clock. I apologize. We may have to continue this again. T-Dubb-O, he's a rapper in St. Louis, Missouri. He was there on the ground trying to keep the peace in Ferguson, Missouri, but has no problem with the fact that buildings were burned. We continue on MidPoint.